So right before we start this video, just have a look at the before and the after part of the pre-processing tutorial of the Milky Way. Towards the left is the raw file and towards the right is a pre-processed file of the raw file. So if I zoom in one to one towards this part of the image, you can see there's a lot of noise in the raw file, while on the pre-processed file, the noise is gone and the details are still preserved. So stay tuned until the end of the video and have a look at the pre-processing techniques of the Milky Way. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So in this video, we'll be looking at the pre-processing techniques for Milky Way images. So I already made a video about the post-processing of Milky Way. In that video, I had a TIFF file which was already pre-processed. Now for pre-processing, I did some noise reduction and some details extraction in Milky Way in order to get a large amount of details in the post-processing part. So in this video, we'll be looking at what I did in the pre-processing and how you can extract greater amount of details by pre-processing. So stay tuned and let's get started. Let's head on to my desktop and have a look at what we are going to do in today's tutorial. So all the files in today's tutorial are in this folder. So as you can see on the screen, there are multiple exposures of Milky Way. Now this is a raw file from my Nikon D5200. You can see what are the settings for this image. So this was taken at 30 seconds f2.8 at 11 mm on ISO 6400. The device is Nikon D5200. Now for Nikon D5200, ISO 6400 is way too high. It's way out of its limit for handling high ISO noise. So in the pre-processing tutorial, I have 8 multiple exposures of Milky Way from the same frame. So I set my camera for the same shot and I shot a small time lapse. So that gave me 8 multiple exposures of Milky Way from the same frame where my foreground is stationary. Just the difference is that the Milky Way in each of the image has shifted a bit. We'll be looking at what we are going to do with these 8 images. So we are going to stack these 8 multiple exposures into a single TIFF file. Now, why we are going to do that and what are the advantages of stacking multiple exposures of Milky Way? So to answer that, we had a TIFF file in the previous video where I did the post-processing of that file. So if you observed in that file, the shutter speed for Milky Way was 240 seconds. But did I really shoot Milky Way for 240 seconds? The answer is no. I shot 8 multiple exposures of 30 seconds each and then stacked them to a single TIFF file which gave me a file equivalent to 240 seconds of exposure at ISO 6400. So what it exactly affected in my raw file was it reduced some noise from the image and it also added some details to the Milky Way. The reason behind that is noise in multiple images is random. So the noise doesn't follow any pattern or there's no fixed amount of noise that is going to appear in your Milky Way image. So in each and every image you shoot, the noise is going to be random. So if I keep my frame stationary and shoot multiple images and then stack them together, the noise will cancel out each other and will give me a cleaner looking file. Now, it will also add some details to the Milky Way because we are really merging 8 different exposures of Milky Way and that will add to the details while reducing the noise. So for now, to stack these 8 multiple exposures of Milky Way, I can use Photoshop, but it is a bit of a tedious job as the stars in the image are not stationary. They keep changing their positions in every image and that is kind of a headache to match the position of stars. So if I just, stack these 8 multiple exposures, I will end up getting star rays, which I don't want in this case. So there's a free software for Windows called as Sequator that will do the job for me and is pretty easy to use. I will just give them the link of the software in the description. This is a free software. You don't need to pay for that. But if you are using iMac, then there is Starry Landscape Tracker, which at the time of recording this video is a paid software. So here I am at Lightroom and let's have a look at what we do before stacking these images. So I have the images in the raw folder. These are all the multiple exposures of Milky Way. I'll just import all the exposures into the Lightroom. So I have all the 8 exposures. I'll click on develop. Alright, so I am in the develop tab, and let's just do some quick settings so that we get a better looking file. So we'll just quickly edit this Milky Way file and make it look a lot better after stacking. So firstly, I like to reduce some noise. So the default sharpening is at 40, but we'll do some noise reduction. Let's make it 15, 7. Okay, let's keep it at 16. Okay, I also want to reduce some of the color noise. I'll add some sharpening to this, but I don't want to add it overall, so I'll do masking. I'll click on Alt and move the masking slider. The white portion is the part where the details are being added. So I just want details in this part. Alright, so it has added some details in the Milky Way while we have reduced some noise. And for getting some details over the foreground, we'll just increase shadows a bit. So let's just keep shadows at 60. We'll add some whites, and that is already looking good. So we'll just add a bit to the shadows from curves section, and this is looking pretty good. I like the temperature here. I already set it to 4100 at the time of shooting, so I don't need to change the temperature over here. So now I'll sync this to all the 8 of my images. To sync it, I have to go to this tab here. I'll select all the images. So I'm clicking on Shift and selecting the last image. So this has selected all the images, and you have something called a sync. So when I click on sync, it shows me all the options that I need to check. Now, since I have not done any cropping, but I'll just check all. So it just checks all the boxes here. And when I click on synchronize, so this will add all the settings, all the changes that I did to the first image, and will copy paste it to all the images. So this image and this image will have same settings. Let's just export these images by clicking on File and Export. So I'll create a new subfolder in the location. I'll just name is that Export, and I'll just keep the file name and just add a sequence number to it. But I don't want this file as JPEG. I want it as a TIFF file. I don't want to lose any of the details. I will not be doing any changes to the imaging size, output sharpening, etc., etc. Everything will be the same. I just click on export. So here we are in the Sequator part, and let's just have a look how the Sequator GUI actually works. So in Sequator, you have an option to add star images here. Just double click on this and you'll get this box. You can select all your TIFF files by clicking Ctrl A and click on open. So you can see the files that you have selected. These are your raw images that you will be stacking. So this is the base image. It has automatically selected. This is noise images. So what exactly are noise images? So if you are into astrophotography for quite a bit of time, you might know there are multiple types of images: the dark frames, the light frames, the flats, bias, and etc. So noise images are nothing but dark frames. Now, what exactly are dark frames? Dark frames are shot at same time, at same location, with the same settings that you click your light frames with. But the only difference is that you have to keep your lens cap on and shoot the dark frames. The reason for shooting dark frames is that if you click multiple dark frames and stack it with your Milky Way images, it will reduce the noise in your Milky Way images. But I haven't shot any dark frames because at the moment of shooting, I didn't have enough time. So these are your noise images or your dark frames. Now this is output. We have to double click and give an output file. So I'll just name it as stacked Milky Way and click on save. So I have selected my output file here, and in this part I'll double click on this and select freeze ground. Now I've selected freeze ground option because if I right away stack the images, I'll get star trails because my foreground is stationary, but the stars keep on moving because of Earth's rotation. So I have to select freeze ground option in order to freeze the foreground but align the stars. So for that, I have to use another option, that is sky region, and select on irregular mask here. And if you click on auxiliary highlight, it will show you this part in the red, which the software recognizes at foreground, but it has also shown you some of this part which it recognizes as foreground, but it's not. So with the help of this brush, you have to paint out that mask, or you have to paint out that area, or mask out that area to get a selection to be stacked. So the green part now is the sky part, and I'll just roughly mask it. If you use your scroll button, then you can just reduce the size of the brush and do the masking properly. Now please try to be precise as much as you can. So this red part here is the foreground. So I have just did some brushing over the foreground. If I right click and brush, it will remove it. So I'll just quickly do the masking. Okay, so we did a rough mask and it's pretty good. I am okay with this type of mask here. So that's a cloud. This is the foreground that currently we have here, and we have already selected it. Now I am not going to change any of these settings here. You can experiment with these settings, but I don't think these settings matter to me or does any of the significant changes. You can obviously try that out later, but for now I am not going to do any of the changes here. So I'll just click on start, and it will do the stacking for me automatically without any of the manual processing that I would have done in Photoshop. So the processing is complete. It says complete successfully. I'll just close it. I'll go to project, click on exit, and I don't want to save it. That was Sequetor. I'll go to tutorial. In export, I have this stacked file. So this is my pre-processed file that I processed during the post-processing tutorial. So if you look at this file, you'll see there's a lot of noise reduction happened here without losing any of the details. Also, we gained a bit more of details over the foreground part. And obviously, as we have seen in the post-processing tutorial, we have a lot more details in this part. Now, if you have a look at the single file here or an unstacked file, you'll see the amount of noise here. It's too much. It's too much. I can't deal with this much of noise in post processing. So that's why we do the pre-processing of Milky Way images in order to get a clear file. Now I'll just import this file in Lightroom and start with the post processing. So if you haven't seen the post processing part of this video, I'll just link down it to the description. Thank you so much for watching this tutorial. I hope you got to learn some new pre-processing techniques for your Milky Way images. I'll be making more such content, so please like, comment and subscribe to my channel. My next tutorial will be about various noise reduction techniques for shooting Milky Way with crop sensor cameras. So stay tuned and have a good day.